Okay, so we've kind of gone over some man base, some adding in some wrinkle for zone as a base. Now, one thing that I think is important, and you'll see teams. So we know from an offensive perspective, you get into the red zone and the goal line, we're going to see a ton of man coverage. So we have man beaters built in to do that. And so when you think of man beaters, you're thinking of pick routes, you're thinking of switch routes, you're thinking of mesh, slant arrow, things like that, post wheel, things that are where people can rub, the receivers can run really close to each other, and it can create a collision or it can create some sort of mismatch, some sort of rub where another player gets open. And so um, we had this as an issue, and if we hadn't put in two read or palms coverage, we would have gotten gassed a lot because we played so much man coverage when I first started running this defense. It's also just great to have in your arsenal for when you play these teams and if you're in the goal line red zone. So simplest form of two read palms. This is the way I think that you can make it so simple. It doesn't have to be overly complex if you want to base it out of your man base. So where it can still turn into man after the switch. And so there's a lot more complex ways of doing it, but basically palms is reading number two read. You hear that all the time. So who's two? What are we reading? What does that mean? Okay, we're going to count receivers from the sideline in. One, two, one, two. The ball separates everything else. Okay, so who's our number two receiver on each side? Okay, two by two. That's really easy, right? It's just a slot. So that means these guys are reading him. Okay, same thing here, same thing here. All right, you don't have to change your alignment. You don't have to change your rules for the rest of the defense. This is a way that if you think, hey, I'm going to see some pick routes or I need to make sure we're not getting beat by man beaters, you can still blitz out of all this. You can do everything else you need to do, and it could even become your base. One of the best things I learned is you're going to learn a lot more about what the play is by reading the splits of the receivers versus the personnel or formation a lot of times. And so if you can know that, hey, they're tight at all, that's a potential rub route. If they're really spaced out, well, they can't rub, they can't switch. That's too hard. But in this situation, two by two, you definitely want to be careful about switch routes. Knowing their splits, the tighter they are, the more likely they are to split or to try to pick you. Okay. So we're reading this guy. What does that mean? Okay. The simplest way I've done it, okay, if he goes vertical or he goes inside, we're going to just man him up like normal. Okay. We're going to take him. Now, if we want to be able to, help influence or get our linebackers in on it too, we can if they're playing a hook curl, whatever. But we want to keep our man principles to keep it as simple as possible. So if he breaks inside, well, I'm going to just treat it the same as if we're in man coverage. If he goes vertical, I know that I have him. Past 5 yards, I say is a good buffer. You can still have switch routes at 10 yards, but I think that it becomes less likely that you're going to need to do this, and it's harder to teach these guys. I'd say 5 to 7 yards is your rule. Once he goes past that, then you know you're sticking on him. So that means if the corner sees him go vertical or go inside, he's going to immediately get back and man up on his normal guy. Okay. So the one time you do it and when you want to change it is if this guy breaks out. Okay. Now you got to think, and I teach our defenders all the time, if something's going outside, you got to look for something coming back in. Okay. So if he's going breaking out under 5 to 7 yards, then he's going to pick him up. Now he's already in a better situation to where he can now, they're going to switch. So corner is going to pick up number two, which means now the strong safety has to go and pick up number one. So you can think about what routes are they going to run. They could run a slant arrow, they could run a wheel, and he's running a post. The one that does give this some fits, if you're not careful, is if you have like an Ohio concept where it's a speed out or a deep out, and then he's still running vertical. That could be difficult to cover, but and more so for this side. So what I would say is make sure that this money is not too close to the line of scrimmage. And again, you don't want to reinvent your or give away what you're doing, but it's the same rules apply here. So it's a quick recap if you want to review this. If he breaks out, that's when they switch. Okay, so if he breaks out, now he's got to go and get here, and the corner is going to pick him up. Okay, that eliminates a smoke screen. That eliminates a lot of different things that they can do to try to pick you, and that way you're not just getting gashed with man beaters. I had it happen one of our first games. They just ran simple slant arrow because they saw us doing man all the time, and I knew we actually had this, and I didn't call it, and they scored a touchdown. And it was one of the easiest touchdowns they scored, and it just drove me crazy. So I was like, okay, we got to teach this from day one because it's in a way to make sure that we're not getting picked. Now, if you want to look at if they go to trips, okay, you can still run the same concept, and let's say it's trips flexed. Okay, so we're going to have our money. He's going to apex here. Okay, we have our corner here, and then we're going to bump back. Let's do this. We're going to show like we're in man coverage here. Okay, now we're going to lock up this corner. He's going to be solo. Same thing backside. He's solo. Okay, we call that solo Han Solo. It's like Chewie from Star Wars. That's what we ended up calling it. And so this is our Chewie coverage. Okay, a strong safety is where you have some wiggle room on if you want to blitz him or drop him or bracket this single receiver. That's where you can do a lot of different things, because if a team's trying to isolate their best receiver over here, well, then you can double team and bracket over here. If you want to send some extra pressure, you can blitz him here, or if you want to get back to your true cover one base, you can roll him back. So these guys are locked up. So that means we are not counting him as a receiver. So we're going to count from him to him. He is the new number 2 receiver now. So the rules are exactly the same. These guys are locked up. We're just reading keying these 2 receivers. Okay. Same thing. He goes vertical or inside. Free safety is going to take him and man him up. At this point, you might want to have a rule where the Sam is helping to pick up an inside breaking route, and then the free safety can take vertical. If he breaks out, they're going to switch. Okay, money's going to pick him up. Free safety is now going to cover number 1. Okay, that eliminates, and a lot of teams call this lock. It's kind of like that, but it's going to eliminate a lot of your issues front side. So if you're playing straight man over here on trips, you're going to take away, the stick route. You're going to take away the hitches, but you are vulnerable to slant arrows. You're vulnerable to snag routes, and so this can help eliminate some of that and allow you to, still be in a good spot. Snag, you might want to play more of a zone, but anyway, so that's a great way to do. I think that having 2 read palms coverage built into your arsenal, and just start simple. Start with 2x2 and trips flexed. Those should be where you start your base, and then you can start to add more into this. Because remember, if you're playing the 3-3 stack, it's probably because you're going to be facing a lot of spread teams. And then we'll get into more of the heavier personnels as we go with the install. But you want to establish your base for what the offenses that you're seeing are doing.